Welcome back, everyone. Today's video is going to be a complete test and review of this Goal Zero Yeti 700 portable power station. And we're going to start this video with a lightning fast unboxing in 3, 2, 1. And that's about all the time that you need to unbox this device because it only comes with essentially 2 items in it. Inside the box, you get the Yeti 700, which is a 677 watt hour lithium iron phosphate. And I'll talk about the battery a little bit more in a second here, portable power station. And on top of that, you get your AC wall charging cable. So I've never tested a product in Goal Zero's Yeti lineup on this channel, and there's been a really big reason for that. Goal Zero has been a leading manufacturer in the portable power station industry since about 2009. Now, let me give you a quick history lesson. Lithium iron phosphate batteries and lithium nickel manganese cobalt batteries were still kind of in their infancy in technology development for consumer size battery products. And the reason that's important is in around 2009, almost all of the Goal Zero Yeti batteries had a lead acid battery inside of them. Now, I'm not trying to say that lead acid batteries are bad, but compared to the value of a lithium iron phosphate battery, there's just honestly no comparison. Fast forwarding 15 years to today, and all of Goal Zero's latest portable power stations do have that lithium iron phosphate battery, which puts them in line with the rest of the battery industry. So what I want to emphasize is that although Goal Zero took a little while to catch up with the current industry standard of lithium iron phosphate, they have been a leader in small powered device technology. So when Goal Zero reached out to me with this brand new Yeti 700 portable power station, I was more than happy to accept their offer to make a test and review of this product. That being said, they did not pay me to make this review, and they have no influence on what I say about the product. And so I will give them my honest opinion. And we're off to a very good start because many of these portable power stations do not have a true grounding lug or grounding wire. And this new Yeti lineup does have a true grounding lug right here on the back. And what that means is if you want to set this up in a more stationary location, you can run this to a true ground, which goes into the earth. Having a true grounding lug like this means that you are much more protected in the event of a malfunction or if you have some kind of overload event that the system just simply cannot handle. In addition to that, Goal Zero has gone through great lengths to ensure that the device is as water resistant as possible by the inclusion of this rubber cover on the input in the back, as well as a pretty significant rubber cover on the front of the device. So if for some reason your Yeti 700 gets left out in the rain, you can be pretty positive that you're not going to have any issues with short circuiting or overloading due to rain intrusion. So the Yeti 700 is not exactly waterproof, but it does have an IPX4 rating, meaning that it is very resilient to water splashes, including things like rain. However, the X in IPX4 means that we do not know exactly what its dust intrusion protection is. And looking at these louvers on the side, I can see that as the fans blow, anything that's in the air will go in or out of the device through these louvers. So to me, that means that this is no more dust resistant than a normal indoor appliance. However, the louvers are angled in a way that rain will definitely not get inside of the system. I need your help to top off this video's charge by hitting the like button. Let's take a few seconds and talk about some of the features of the Yeti 700. So the first feature that I really like is this 12 amp 12 volt outlet. This thing is rated at over 160 watts, which is almost an industry leading rating for these 12 volt outlets. Moving over to the right of the car charging outlet is a 8mm barrel plug outlet rated up to 135 watts, which is also pretty high for this size of outlet. Just below those two outlets is a 200 watt solar panel input. This is a 8mm barrel plug input, meaning that this is compatible with any of Goal Zero's proprietary solar panels, and you may need an adapter for this 8mm barrel plug for any non-standard or non-Goal Zero solar panels to be compatible with it. This power station has plenty of USB outlets with one USB-C 100 watt power delivery output, as well as a 30 watt rated quick charge USB-C port. It does have two standard USB-A 18 watt outlets. Honing in on the AC inverter side, we do have two 110 volt outlets with a combined rating of 600 watts for continuous loads or a surge rating of 1000 watts. That means from the two outlets combined, you can get about 600 watts. So one outlet with 600 or two maybe with 300. I already mentioned that I love the fact that they put a lot of water resistant touch points on this power station. I do want to point out one thing though. We have this large panel that covers essentially everything on the front of the power station. So if I do want to use any of these ports, I will have to lift and uncover essentially all of those devices. Now, luckily the seal across the top is pretty uniform. So anything coming down, for example, rain, will splash down and fall off. However, maybe the next generation of Goal Zero Yeti products, I recommend that these covers are individually assigned so that you can lift only the cover from the device that you plan to use, leaving the rest of the outlets protected from any intrusion. In addition to that, this power station has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons on the front. Each of these buttons do something different. I have no idea what they do besides assuming that they work for the thing that they're closest to. However, there are 3 buttons right here. There is no information on the panel that shows what those buttons are. And so far, my only true gripe with this power station is that the actual power button is on the back of the device. I did just touch the power button once. Let's see, did it turn on the device? No, so let me go back here and hold it. When the power station is on, the power button does remain illuminated. So to start up the Yeti 700, you have to hold down the power button for about 3 seconds. Now we can go through and see what all of these buttons do. 12 volt on, pair is going to be for when you hook this up to your app. Okay, so that's the front light on the screen. And then info. So to pair the device, I'm gonna use the Goal Zero app. I've got my screen recording and I have this option on the screen that says connect new device. I'm gonna go ahead and allow all this stuff. And all I did was touch the pair button. The pair thing is flashing and my Goal Zero just showed up. Problem solved. Okay, so there are 2 options when you first connect your device. You can have it Cloud Connect or Direct Connect. Very interesting. Cloud Connect allows your data to upload obviously to the cloud, but it requires a login. If you do not want to set up a login, which a lot of times when I make these reviews, a device requires, regardless of what you're doing with it, some kind of login, meaning a username and a password. And a lot of folks have issues with respect to their privacy while making accounts like that. And I do understand those privacy concerns. So for today's video, let me go ahead and do the direct method, which does not require a username or password to connect. However, you do have to be in the proximity of the device, and it is going to connect through the Bluetooth app, which I am connected now. I can see the status of everything on my power station. And wow, that's actually a pretty good looking app right there. So we have power in, power out, time to empty. It says that with 82%, I can stand by for about 5 days and 15 or 16 hours. And then let's see if we are up to date on the firmware. Let's see, firmware version. There is an update. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is, so that's where they get you. If you want to update your firmware, you will have to connect to the cloud. So let me do that. Let me pause this video for a second. I'll be right back. Now, I do want to note that as I'm going through the account creation process, one of the cues that you have to agree to is that I consent to the collection and use of my personal information in accordance with Goal Zero's privacy policy. So I will not read the privacy policy. I'm just going to assume that they're going to do whatever they want with my information and click create account. And this time, if I want to connect using that cloud service, I did have to unpair the device and then restart the connection process. I'm also required to hook this up to my Wi-Fi network, which means that this app will know my account connection information for my Wi-Fi. Now I'm going to throw just about all of the small appliances that I feel like the 600 watt AC inverter should be able to handle from this portable power station. Starting with my little MyHeat mini heater. Now, I would never truly recommend running a heater like this off of a power station of this size, because this thing takes around 200 watts plus or minus to run. And this one spiked right up to that 250 watts that it normally takes, and it's got a steady state 220 watt output. This portable power station with 677 watt hours should run this device for around 3 hours. Now I'm going to take that 3 hours and drop off another 20 or 30 minutes and round it down to 2.5 hours because of loss from the AC inverter. It's getting a little too hot to keep this thing running, so I'm going to get that thing turned off. So before I start my next test of the AC inverter, I want to note that I do see that there appears to be an output of 6 watts. And I wonder if that's the power station accounting for the fact that the AC inverter is on. And so to test that, I'm going to go ahead and turn that off temporarily. Dropped straight to 0. I did hear the fan just kick on briefly. Turn it back on. Let's see what happens. Fan again kicked on briefly, and I jumped right back up to that 6 watts. So I'm glad to see that this power station accounts for that loss due to the AC inverter. But the next thing I want to try is this little electric kettle. I plugged it in. This thing is on the drink setting, which will boil approximately a half a quart of water that I have in there. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the power button and see what happens with our AC inverter. We spiked up immediately to 450 watts. And so I didn't remember exactly because it's been a while since I've used this, but it looks like it pulls around 450 watts. And at this rate, this little water boiler can run for over an hour on a full charge on this portable power station. However, this thing is pretty amazing because you plug it in, you turn it on, it will boil the water for you to make something, and then it will automatically stop boiling the water. I'm gonna let it go for a while and make sure I can boil the water. While this test is running, I do want to point out that this is a multi-color display. It is very easy to read, and you can't tell because of the light in the camera, but when the flap is down, it is also very easy to read. So when it's in its most waterproof state, for example, if you only have a portable solar panel plugged into it, you'll be able to see through that door exactly how much power you're getting into the system. All right, we're pulling 450 watts, pretty steady state out of this power station. And with that amount of output, I feel like I've tapped or topped off the fan speed. The fan speed isn't super loud, but that's what it sounds like. I do feel like if you are going to run a power station at its maximum capacity or close to it, in this case, I'm at about 75% of its continuous load capacity, then you should expect that the fan on the device will be a little louder than usual. So this little kettle will run on the drink setting that I have it on right now, 450 watts steady state. On drink mode, once it achieves boil, then it simply shuts off. But if I swap the selector over to the eat mode, it will cook until either it runs out of water, which it will know because it will shut itself off, or it will just run continuously. That's perfect for cooking something like noodles or something like that, rice, while you're on the go with a small portable power station. So my water boiler is just about to shut off. It is at a rolling boil inside of there. And as I'm over here studying this and watching the water boiler, I noticed that the feet at the bottom of the Yeti 700 are actually very nice. So in a minute here, when this thing actually stops boiling, I will flip this thing over and take a peek at that. I want to point out that it took about 10% of the battery power from inside of the Yeti 700 to make this thing boil water. So if my goal was simply to boil water, to put something ready mixed, ready to eat in there, then I would have already achieved that and not had a problem. I'm going to go ahead and shut it off because I've achieved the goal that I wanted to achieve with the water kettle. As soon as that load came off of the AC inverter, the fan did immediately lower. It is still on a little, just enough to pass some air through it, but it does not have that maximum load fan setting like it did previously. I'm going to move these lights out of the way as well, and let's take a look. And I did not mention, but this handle, very robust feeling. It is not flimsy or weak feeling. But how do these feet look on the bottom? Yep. Yeah, the feet are definitely a very nice rubber material. I don't want to distract too much from the Yeti 700, but I've had these Goal Zero lights since 2017, these Chroma Crush Goal Zero lights, and they have a little solar panel on top, and I never ever have to plug them in. I just leave them out in the sun, and they're always ready whenever I need them, and they last basically all night on their lowest setting. And the last major device that I want to test on this power station is this little Dash mini toaster oven. This thing is perfect for cooking like small individual meals, such as those little 4-inch or 5-inch in diameter pizzas. And I simply plug it in. This one does pull about 550 watts. So let's get it going. I'm going to let it go for just a few minutes and see if I can get the element inside of the stove to heat up. Since I'm not actually cooking something right now, I'll go ahead and open this up and angle the camera, and you can see I've got that red hot element. It's the middle of summer and it's really hot in my garage out here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that thing off because I'm not cooking anything in there anyway. But I would say that is a win for this Goal Zero AC inverter, running that load at about 515 watts. Really, it didn't hit that 600 watts. So now I'm going to just put a couple of things together and see if I can bust that 600 watt AC inverter going over 600 watts, but less than 1,000, see how long it will run that load continuously. For this final test of the AC inverter, I have this one that pulled around 200 watts earlier, plus that one that pulled around 500. We'll go ahead and get that started and see if we can handle that 700 watt load. And if so, for how long. We jumped right up to 750 watts and it took about 30 seconds. I'll put the actual time on the clock, but the AC inverter did pop off. All right, guys, those are actually some very good results from this Goal Zero 700 portable power station. Now, if you want to find out more about this Goal Zero Yeti 700 portable power station, check out the link in the video description. And if you found this video informative, click the subscribe button. And if you didn't like the video, click the subscribe button anyway, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.